Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's Viva-Mundo webinar. Today we are hosting the Hong Kong University, who will be able to give you some more information about who they are, where they are, and what they can offer you for your study abroad experience. Now today we are using Zoom. Hello to all of those on Facebook Live. Please do register at the link below if you want to find out more from University of Hong Kong. We will also be accepting questions. Please do answer the questions, ask them throughout, which will be brilliant. We will get to those right at the end of our webinar. The question and answer box is just at the bottom of our screen. If you can see that there, which would be brilliant for you to drop in your questions, and we will answer those right at the end. Now, a little bit about Viva-Mundo and what we do and why we actually exist. So we exist to help students with the information and details required for studying abroad, destinations, degrees, application details, you name it, we have it on our website. If you need any more information from us, please do let us know, but we will be dropping everything into the chat and Q&A box throughout the webinar today. We have the lovely Ying, who is with us today, who will be your main presenter, and I'm now going to hand the floor over to you, Ying.
Thank you so much. So hi, everyone from Latin America. It's a great pleasure for me to be able to speak to you today, and good afternoon or good morning to you wherever you are. I represent the University of Hong Kong, in short HKU. This is our tagline, Aspire to Inspire. We hope that the session will be an inspiration to you as well, as you'll become our student population who will be a source of inspiration to others as well. So I work at the admissions office at the university, and I want to structure my sharing in the following way. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about studying in Hong Kong, what Hong Kong is like. Perhaps you know about Hong Kong being a city in Asia, but you don't know anything much more beyond that. Then I will spend a little bit of time to go over that. And then afterwards, I will talk about the overview of the university, HKU, as well as how you can apply. By the end, as mentioned, by the end of the session, you would like to ask any questions, you're very much welcome to do so. And without further ado, I will just jump right in to the session. So Hong Kong, Asia's worst city, that's the tagline not actually used by the government in Hong Kong. And for a couple of good reasons. At least you can see this is the skyline of Hong Kong, which is world famous. And lots of buildings, lots of lights in Hong Kong as well. And as a student from Latin America, coming into Hong Kong in a very cosmopolitan city, there are a few good things that are going for the city. So now I want to list them out here. This is an article written by QS, I believe just a couple months back, about the perks of studying Hong Kong, why students or international students should consider Hong Kong as a potential destination. Number one, the ability for students to go from places to places, from beaches to mountains, within a very short amount of traveling time. The job market that is available for students if they want to look for jobs, as Hong Kong is really one of the regional or even international hub where a lot of headquarters were situated. An excellent choice of universities for students to choose from, world class, and a lot of them ranked very highly as well by QS and THE, and a highly international student population with a very high number of international students pursuing either the undergraduate studies or postgraduate studies, bringing in their respective culture and truly a taste of East meet West in this city in Asia. Now, even though Hong Kong is part of China, Hong Kong is also very different in terms of the culture, in terms of the official language. They even have its own currency that's distinct from China. But because of the way where it's positioned, it's also a great place for students to go into access China. As you can see on this slide, within 4 hours of access to a lot of major cities in mainland China, as well as some in Southeast Asia, as a lot of the economic activities actually being shifted, as we have seen in the past, being shifted from the West, from North America to this part of the world. Within 4 hours radius, you reach a lot of those countries. Within just 5 hours, you have access to pretty much half the world's population. And it is a great place for students who want to kickstart their career in Asia, or even who to have a relationship work to start a career, maybe leading into working in the mainland China as well. Hong Kong is also known for a very efficient transportation system. This is the subway system in Hong Kong. As you can see, you pretty much can go from one end of the city to another by train usually within half an hour to 1 hour, all the way to Shenzhen, basically going into mainland China. The University of Hong Kong is located right here on Hong Kong Island. It's only 3 stops away from the central business district, and the station allows students to have access straight into the university campus, and that makes it an ideal location for students looking to have a lot of either classes, either student activity, and also being really in the city, enjoying a lot of the benefits and things to do in the city. Hong Kong offers its education in English. So all the courses offered by universities in Hong Kong are conducted in English. So you do not have to worry about not knowing Chinese, not knowing Cantonese, because that's not going to be an issue for you to do your study, either undergraduate studies or postgraduate studies here. In terms of the cost, Hong Kong is also fairly low compared to other popular destinations such as the US, UK, Australia. And that's another breakdown just for you to have an idea of how much you're expected to pay. The fee structure at University of Hong Kong is mostly based on the number of years you spend at a particular institution. So that fees will not change regardless of the programs that you participate in. Now, the accommodation usually is a big deal for international students, because probably if you read the news, you know Hong Kong has a really expensive rent. And it is true in a way, but also for students who were seeking on-campus or new campus accommodation, we are able to offer something that is very competitive for students who want to stay on campus. Also a great way for them to make friends as well. So overall, affordable quality education is what you will be able to find in Hong Kong. And students would also have access to a number of scholarship opportunities. A lot of them simply by submitting an application to the university, and they will be considered automatically on a merit basis. So do look out for that particular information, depending on which particular university you want to apply to. Then you can also do your research ahead of time. So I have finished my part on Hong Kong. So now let's move on to talk about what I represent, the University of Hong Kong, or in short, HKU. So here, when you think about university study, when you think about the experiences that you will gain, the opportunities you will gain, I think HKU really comes first because its goal is to really nurture future leaders who will be able to do well in whatever fields they get themselves into. So this is actually a project that our students have done. They've created the world's fastest swimming robotic fish, breaking the Guinness World Record twice actually along the way by a group of students actually studying from different faculty at the university. Another group of students have done have participated in the Microsoft Imagine Cup winning World Championship just last year, and they have this app with a goal to improve youth therapy practices. And now they are becoming a startup that's being incubated by HAU, and that's something that we're very proud of. And I believe that's also something that every single student should have access to. They have access once they come into the university. They have access to the resources, to the professors, and also the resources to friends and people, either from the program or from different programs, so that they can, really bring in the different perspective, bring in the different culture, and to join and to do something remarkable in whatever fields that they want to get themselves into. In addition, Hong Kong is also at the forefront of fighting COVID-19. Given the current situation, a lot of the physical activities have resumed at the universities. Students are able to actually take on physical classes right now, although at a reduced size because of the social distancing measure. But regardless, the students do have access to, the thanks to the really the COVID-19 research, and even the advisory board in the Hong Kong government. A lot of them come from the HAU, our university, because it's one of the first to go into research because of the history of pandemic in Hong Kong before with SARS. So as a result of that, she is really truly world class in terms of this research that is science related and also with fighting COVID-19. Now, I want to move on and talk a little bit about our student. This is one of our students who have graduated, in fact, from the Bachelor of Social Sciences program, one of the 40 plus undergraduate degrees that we offer. And when she was talking about her experiences with HAU, she always shared about the intellectual rigor that the curriculum offers. This is very rigorous. It will be on par with a lot of universities in the world, the US and UK, etc. And also the ability to go into research, even as an undergraduate student. So undergraduate research is definitely not restricted, limited to undergraduate students. And if you do your part, if you're proactive in searching, in fact, a lot of professors will be very happy to involve you in their project. And with the way how HAU has established itself in a community, Saloni in this case also has her exposure to bring in her research, to do research in the actual local community in Hong Kong, especially in the nonprofit organization sphere. So this is what she has done, and that's very remarkable. And with that experience, she was actually able to go, right now she's currently in North America, pursuing her PhD, I believe. And that's something also, again, to show how, in terms of the structure, in terms of experiences, in terms of what you can do in bringing social impact, that's something that's very much transferable to whatever you plan on doing in the future. If further study is not for you, you want to go into a career, Vriska's case may interest you. She started off coming into HAU thinking that she wanted to become a scientist. And that's why she chose a Bachelor of Science degree. And given the flexible curriculum HAU offer and the ability for her to mix and match different courses, at the end of the day, she came out and completed a second major from the HAU Business School. So with a first major in science and a second major from business, she was able to also take on a couple of internships back in her home country in Indonesia. And currently she's working as a business consultant in McKinsey company in Indonesia. So as you can see, really how the curriculum structure allows her to explore something that's perhaps before, as a high school student, never thought about opening up these doors, opening up opportunities for her to explain something, to explore something beyond what she's used to, and that allows her to take on opportunities that she's never imagined before. If you're interested in going to startup, Terrence's story might interest you. He's a student from the business school at HAU, and in his sharing, he talked about how professors, as they mentor students, they are able, students are able to actually gain a lot of the experiences and insight from these professors, who a lot of them may be Hong Kong U alumni themselves, or they have industry experiences in whatever fields they're in. So with that, then actually allows him to forge a lot of relationship even before he graduates, connections, network, so that he will be able to go into the fields that he's interested in, and to have a head start ahead of his peers. Actually, you also offer a space for students to collaborate, a space, in fact, for startups. So a student's going to startup, in Terrence's case, he's now running his own startup, connecting grocery stores that may have food that's expiring, that's his business idea, with companies or nonprofit organizations who may actually have a need for these kind of to be expired food, and they have a way to rapidly distribute them within the actual community. So that's his business idea, and he's doing pretty well actually with his startup right now. So regardless of which path you want to go into, whether it be going into employment, be it going to higher education, I think that the theme here is very clear, that you are entering a university with a very long history, being one of the oldest institutions in Hong Kong, with in the past 15 years maintaining a virtually 100% employment rate and being ninth most employable on the QS graduate employability ranking. Pretty much guarantees that students coming into HAU, they will have no problem finding jobs. For international students, another great news is that if you do choose to stay in Hong Kong, you are welcome to do so. You can apply for a visa extension for 1 year with no strings attached for you to stay in Hong Kong to look for jobs, and then perhaps your visa can be renewed by also your employers as well. So it's another great way for students to gain access to employment opportunities in Hong Kong. So here, I just want to mention a little bit about the university aspect, the rankings, the subjects that we offer. And again, I want to really hit home the point that the professors at HAU are very much international and very much with very high research output. And if you really don't speak Chinese, and that's perfectly fine, that's not one of our requirements. And in fact, a lot of the professors at HAU do not speak Chinese either themselves. So it is truly a very international environment to stimulate people or students like you, and you can definitely join our very diversified undergraduate student population as well. So in terms of clubs and societies, there are many that are currently on campus, at cultural association and sports clubs. Some of these sports clubs actually are also offered by halls as well. So I'll actually also explain a little bit more in one of the examples of our students. And there are halls, as I mentioned, dormitories for students to stay in that are near campus, and lots of restaurant options on campus, regardless of your preferences, because food, I understand, is a big deal. And probably a lot of students may have dietary restrictions as well. So that's tons of options available on campus or near campus as well. So to talk a little bit about the programs that we offer, HAU consists of 10 faculties. We are a comprehensive university, very much focused on research, and that 10 faculties in total offer over 40 undergraduate degrees with approximately 100 minors and majors and minors that students can choose from. We believe that the future lies in interdisciplinary studies, and that's kind of the quality that all future leaders would have to possess. So we also are pushing a lot of the programs in Bachelor of Arts and Sciences. These are integrated programs where students will be learning from both arts and sciences discipline, and combining those together to make impact in the world, as well as, if students want to go into have some sort of accreditation. A lot of programs, in fact, actually accredited. And also we have something called a Global Engineering Business Program for students who are interested in both engineering and business. I mentioned a little bit already about the broad-based curriculum, broad-based core structure the students have access to. And we believe that that is really a big sell, something that I really want to make sure students get, that is that you do not really have to sacrifice one thing. If you're interested in arts and your parents tell you perhaps you should pursue Korean business, perhaps that's where the jobs are at, you really don't have to sacrifice one or the other. In fact, you can get both. And the outcome of that is that with the cross-faculty or cross-disciplinary knowledge that you have received, you will be able to find connections even between these two different, or even three, depending on how many courses that you take, electives that you take, to find connections between these different bodies of knowledge and to explore a skill set that's unique to you and to have exposure to industry or in job opportunities or things that you have never imagined before. And that's really the case. And we believe that there's no one size fit all education model for students. And our curriculum is designed in such a way so the students can explore their interest, explore their passion without sacrificing the prospect of what they would want to do in the future. Right. So HA is also strong in international education in terms of students having the learning experiences overseas. Before COVID-19, HAU has over 10,000 overseas learning experiences among our 16,000 undergraduate student population. That's over half on average, over half of our students have at least once on average overseas learning experience in just 1 year. We have over 370 plus exchange partners from 45 destinations. Students can choose from a myriad of universities. They can apply to those universities for exchange programs from the US, from Canada, from Europe, from Asia as well. Actually, you also offer what we call the dual degree program. So these are programs where students can get more than one degree in one go. So here, just to give you some example, we have collaborations with world-leading universities like UCL and Cambridge in the UK, University of Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley in the US, the University of British Columbia in Canada, etc., where students would be able to gain more than one degree from spending time in HAU as well as our partner institution. So just to give you a quick overview of what kind of area of discipline you can learn from these dual degree programs at different universities in terms of our collaboration with them. So now I would like to shift gear a little bit and also talk about a student. She was unable to join us today, but actually this is a sharing from our student who is from Nicaragua and a current student from year 4 doing architectural studies. There are a few things she want to share. Due to time, she was not able to join live, but there are a few things that she want to actually also tell you about. She was on scholarship coming into HAU, covering her tuition fee, as well as living expenses to join what we call the He for She Impact Champion scholarships for students with barrier to education in their time to actually pursue their study in Hong Kong. She's one of the students from the second cohort, and she, although it's difficult, as you can probably imagine, student coming all the way from the other part of the world to Asia to pursue their study, although it can be difficult at times, but a lot of things that she was able to really, when she was sharing with me, that she was able to benefit from the mentorship program that HAU has offered. She was able to meet with a lot of, as you can see, people from different backgrounds, mentors who have completely different life experience and completely, maybe in completely different fields, so that she was actually being connected with the expat community in Hong Kong very early on. And that was something that will help her, to continuously forge those kind of relationships throughout her 4 years in Hong Kong. Hall is another big aspect. She was living in halls, and within the hall, one of her major activities or pastime during weekends is to join what we call a dragon boat. I mentioned earlier that in Hong Kong you have access to a lot of beaches, and it is true in her case. And she was actually one of the members on the rolling dragon boat rolling team that she do a regular practice at one of the beaches in Hong Kong that was actually very close by to the HAU campuses, making new friends and also trying something new. And the high table dinner where, you dress very professionally for your hall, and then you also meet with alumni, perhaps alumni from the same faculty or same hall, and also to meet with people, network with current students, network with professors, and whoever guest speakers that get invited to these kind of formal dinners. So again, a great way for students to have a taste of what it would really look like when they go into the career, and to actually to network with people from different backgrounds as well. She enjoyed her travel very much, and although you may think that the cultural aspect of Hong Kong could be very much different from Latin America, she also mentioned in her sharing that Hong Kong is also very much family focused, just like in Latin America. And instead of focusing on the differences, finding the similarities actually help her a lot, and they're a very supportive community of both international and local students to help her in that onboarding process, so that now she's as a year 4 student, as one of the graduating student, she's able to also do that and help those who are coming in as junior students as well to fit in to the university. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about the admissions process. This is going to be very much undergraduate focused. So if you have questions later on, beyond that, you're also welcome to do so. But in terms of the application process, I hope I got you excited about the university and how you can potentially become a member of the undergraduate student population. In terms of the application, we only have one intake. That's in 2000. If you are a high school student in your final year, then that would be, you may be considering for 2022 intake. We only have one intake in September every year, and we expect students to apply usually 1 year ahead of time. Regardless of what you study, you can actually find out if you come from an international school background or you come from a local school background doing a national examination. You can find out a full list of exams that we do recognize for admissions purposes on a website. So I will also share that website in just a little bit of time. But I mentioned earlier about the application procedure and the deadline. The key here is that you want to start your research at least 1 year ahead of when you plan on enrolling. This may be something very different from your local university system, but we highly recommend students to do so. If you're considering for 2022 intake, you should definitely consider actually making an application as early as October 2021. So that's a little bit less than 1 year before the expected intake. And if you're very, very interested, you want to be considered for the first round, you should also consider submitting the application by November 17, 2021. That's where our deadline for first round evaluation will take place. And once we start evaluating applicants, students can continuously apply to university programs, and they will be considered on a rolling basis, subject to program availability. So again, that's another reason, if you want to be considered for the University of Hong Kong, make sure you do take note of the different dates for you, especially if you want to increase your chance for admissions. If you want to apply to a particular scholarship program, they may have different scholarship deadline as well. So do make sure you check our website for that piece of information. We do have a published scale or expected lower boundaries. So what we expect different programs in terms of the admission standards, what kind of grades, what kind of subjects that you may be expected to meet. So do make sure you do check that as well, as that will also give you some indication of the competitiveness of different undergraduate programs that we offer. Make sure you also require students to provide a language, 2 language requirements. One is your English, because that's the official medium of instruction at the University of Hong Kong, as well as a second language proficiency, which is something other than English. For Spanish speakers, obviously you would have that met already. You don't have to take on an additional Chinese to meet the requirements, but do provide proof that you do speak a second language, and that will be considered in the application as well. We have program requirements depending on what subjects you want to apply to. So these are some examples I want to show you so that you have an idea of, other than just the examination you're taking, be it SAT, be it IB, or national examinations, what subjects will be required if you want to go into a particular area of study. So that, again, is also available on our website. And to finish off, there are a few tips I want to make sure all students are aware, or applicants are aware, before they file the undergraduate admissions, undergraduate applications to us. You can apply with predicted results. If your school do issue predicted results, then we will consider on a conditional basis to issue conditional offers to students. So this may be a little bit different from US colleges, so just make sure you do check if you're also considering applying to US colleges. HAU, the way the consideration is done, evaluation is done, is slightly different. So make sure you do take that, keep that in mind. You will be asked to provide your academic history from year 9 onwards. So year 9, year 10, year 11, and 12, that usually would help us to understand, your academic track record, and that will be a very important component in our holistic evaluation of your application. You are able to continuously update your academic results throughout the application. So you may be someone who's very keen, you apply by November. You are all obviously very welcome to continuously to submit more documents, more examination results, more extracurricular activities throughout the cycle, so that we will also take that into consideration in the different stages of the evaluation of your applications. All students are required to provide one personal statement outlining their interest to apply to HAU, why they want to apply to a particular program, why they want to apply to Hong Kong, which is so far away from their home, and things like that. So that is something that is required for all students applying to HAU. So make sure you do that, and that's a really great, I believe, a great way for you to differentiate yourself from other applicants, make your application stand out, so that we can get to know you as an applicant a bit better. We also recommend students to provide up to two reference letters from either your teachers, from counselors, or people who know you well. They can comment on either your academic or non-academic achievements or abilities. And that would also form a very significant part of your application as well. All students will be able to choose up to 5 program choices. Those 5 programs will be considered separately and independently. So students may receive multiple offers from HAU based on your application and profile. And once you receive a program offer, you'll also be given a little bit of time to consider whether you want to accept that offer, and by paying a deposit to secure a seat at HAU. So that's generally how it works. And I think I pretty much come to the end of the session. If you want to know more about the university, to follow the happenings and events going on, do follow us on our IG channel, and our admissions.hau.ha website is pretty much the one-stop shop for students to learn about the dual degrees I mentioned earlier, the admission standards, the program offered. So I will leave you to explore that information yourself. If you want to actually follow up and connect with us, there's a QR for you to scan. You can leave the contact information, but I don't think you need to, because probably your information will be sent to us as well. So we're very interested to learn more about you and to know about your interests. And so do connect with us, and do feel free to ask questions so that we can also direct you in the right direction, so that you can fulfill your dream and your aspiration as well, to study in this part of the world. So with that, I want to probably stop and pause here for now, and move on to the question section. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ying. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for all the information. I would probably ask you to go back a slide just to have the information up and ready for anyone who may need it. If you can.
Go back to one slide.
One slide, yeah, just for your information, in case anyone wants to get in touch. And we have a lot of questions here that we can get kick started on. I think a lot of them have been answered, so I will kind of go through the ones that haven't been, if that's okay. There is a question here about scholarships. So, how are students assessed for international scholarships? Is there an additional essay or is an application required?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think I mentioned also quite briefly, so it's probably helpful for me to kind of address that here as well. So all applicants will be considered for scholarships automatically as soon as, as long as they submit an application to the university. So usually what it works is that when a student receives an offer, they will also receive a scholarship offer from us. So they can decide, based on the scholarship offer, based on the program offer, whether it's something that they really want to study or not, because I mentioned there are 5 choices, then they can make a decision of whether they want to make a deposit at that stage. So those kind of scholarships are what we call the merit-based scholarships, and there's no separate application. If a student want to apply to additional scholarships, they want to increase the chance of securing something financial support to finance their study at HAU, they're also very much welcome to submit additional application for separate scholarship schemes that are available on a website. So depending, some of them may have eligibility criteria, like you have to be from a particular country, you have to be from a particular background, kind of like what I mentioned with our student, Francis, who was a recipient of the He for She Impact Champion scholarships from HAU, and that's in fact what she got it. She got the scholarship at the end, and she also had during the process, she was asked to submit an essay, an additional essay. So something that is on top of the personal statement I mentioned, as well as being invited for an interview. So those are usually what will go into a scholarship application. Most of our scholarships, however, are still merit-based, so we want to make sure students do understand that. There are only a handful of need-based scholarships that students can apply to at the university.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Next question, what is it like to travel to Asia right now during COVID-19? Will I gain any help with visa advice?
So actually, that's a really great question, because actually it also relates to the other question I saw about, what the classes right now at the university, because the reason I said that is because the teaching activities right now is being conducted physically or face-to-face at the University of Hong Kong right now. So that means that international students with the means to travel, being able to have access to flights, quarantine and all that, as long as they have that they're able to do that, they are very much encouraged to come to the university to have physical classes, because that's really something that cannot be easily replaced by online learning. As we are doing it online, as you can see, there's a lot of restrictions and limitations in terms of what we could do. So now that being said, if students are considering their plan to actually travel to Hong Kong to commence their study, they will receive full support from the university in terms of their visa application, in terms of, when they come into Hong Kong, where they can do their quarantine and stuff like that. There will be information available to students as well. And generally speaking, as long as students do all the paperwork, and I believe with more relaxed policies right now, students will be able to enter the university, and they will be able to go straight into learning once they complete their quarantine in Hong Kong. Though obviously that information does change and vary. As you can see, things do move in a very fluid way right now. And I foresee, basically, given the current improved situation and how it's going to look like next year, I think students will have a much easier time coming into Hong Kong. And in fact, I don't have a picture to show here, but we just hosted close to 600 non-local students at different level on campus back in August. So as you can see, a lot of students coming from different countries were able to enter into Hong Kong and to do their orientation on campus as well. So that's another great thing that I think we are very proud of, and we hope that as things improve, that would also be the case also for students coming from countries that are really far, because as far as I know, there are no direct flight from South America to Hong Kong, but as far as I know, so I understand that it's going to be difficult for students, but we will definitely do our best to support our students to embark on the journey to study in Asia.
Great, thank you. And now let's go to another question, but in regards to, I'm guessing, the interviews for applications. So generally, how are the interviews? Are they academic, and how should one prepare for a application interview?
Yeah, interviews is an integral part of assessment. Although not every single student may be required to undergo an interview, because quite frankly, the need for interview really determined by the individual programs. So because of that, in an interview, the format of an interview can be in different forms as well. It can be a general interview where a student will be asked to work with a group of students. So given the current situation, we have done that in the past few years online purely. So for students to, work with the groups, could be through Zoom, could be through Skype, to work with another group of students who can be from completely, vastly different background from them, to discuss on a topic. It could be a contemporary events, could be on a piece of news, an article, and to discuss on, the content of that, and the interviewers will be observing the discussion in terms of what the students can do or contribute to the discussion, and with the goal to kind of simulate the learning environment in a university where we foresee the students will be working with their peers who may be from, as I mentioned, vastly different background. We can be studying a completely different program even, and what they can bring into the university, and to assess whether students will be an appropriate candidate to study in such a vibrant education environment in HAU. So that's one type of interview. Depending on the requirements of the programs, there may be another type of interviews where students may be asked very specific questions about why they want to study in a particular program. Usually those kind of interviews apply to programs that are very competitive. So now they want to make sure students are ready to go into a very competitive program, for example, a medical program, for example, like a law program, for instance. So that would also be where the interviewers may want to get to know more about the student, about why the student want to get to that particular program, or even to see if the students have what it takes, have the skill set for them to do well in a particular program. So either one of those interview format may apply depending on the program that you're applying to, and you may be invited to one or even more than one different interviews depending on your application.
Great, thank you. That was a very detailed answer. The next question: can I work alongside the degree, and can I gain funded research with my degree?
Right. Okay. Working. Okay. The working arrangement. So for international students who are pursuing full-time degrees in Hong Kong, so across any universities in Hong Kong, we allow students to take up to 20 hours of work per week on campus. So that is to maintain your full-time student status, that's the maximum you can do on campus. Obviously, you still have to look for a job and you have to apply for it. If you get it, you can work a maximum of 20 hours per week on campus. Outside of that, then during the summer breaks, for example, with times that when you're not actively studying, you can also take on internships outside of campus as well. As long as you do get the endorsement from the faculty, I believe you can also have some flexibility in terms of perhaps doing some of the jobs during winter break, for example, which are much shorter. But that's possible for students to do. So that would also help in terms of for them to finance their study, if that's actually another source of income. The other half of the question is about funded research. So let's say you're a student who are very interested to have your own research, to start your own research, undergraduate research, or even postgraduate research, depending on your study level. There are lots of funds that you can apply to. Now, a lot of those funds would depend on what you're studying. You may have to submit a proposal. You may have to, in a lot of cases, you may have to go through additional screening. But I think if you have a great idea, you have someone to support you, if you perhaps, for example, hypothetically, you're already working with the professors in HAU or in other universities in Hong Kong, then perhaps that would also increase your chance of getting something like that. But I think the point here being that, regardless of your study level, if you have something good, you can find something to help support you. It's not something guaranteed, obviously, but I have seen myself, I've seen students, international students who have been given such similar opportunities in the past, and especially pertaining to if you want to go into science or engineering, those kind of related fields, STEM related fields. So the opportunities are definitely out there. So just to make sure that we are looking also for the suitable candidates to receive those kind of grants or awards.
Okay, so we have quite a few questions here, so I'm going to try and fast track them throughout the next 15 minutes. Are there opportunities to network and meet potential employers? Which I think you kind of just answered.
Okay, sorry, let me get to the question. So network and meet potential employers. HAU has been around for over 100 years now. So a great benefit of students at HAU is that they already have access to the network, where a lot of our alumni are already working in middle or senior management level in different corporations in Hong Kong or in Asia. So I mentioned high table dinner, which is one of the aspects of how students at halls, they can network with alums, people, guest speakers who may be CEOs from different companies. So that's already one way for students to network and diversify, their network as well. And an additional way is for them to join a lot of the fairs, job fairs, a lot of the workshops that are offered by the university or offered by the program, where students would have they would usually final year students, they already have access to those kind of fairs. And some companies do exclusively recruit from HAU as well. So you want to also make sure that you do take advantage of those. Some may, their companies just send HR to interview students, even sometimes on the spot on campus. So those are things, although we do not help students look for a job, because we believe students should take ownership of that as well. But if you do make use of the opportunities available, chances are you're gonna receive multiple job offers before you graduate.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there any questions that stand out to you that you would like to answer at the moment?
Yep, I'm going through the list. So let me also quickly see what are the okay.
They're all great questions, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, so given the limited time, so I want to make sure I do my best.
Sure.
Perhaps I would mention, I would like to address the questions on personal statement. So actually, it's not possible for me to say an ideal, what does an ideal personal statement look like, but they are definitely pointers that you can refer to when you are trying to write your personal statement. So number one is that you want to make sure that you package, who you are, because the idea is that, the interviewers, the program director or whoever's reading your application are going through hundreds, if not thousands of applications. And obviously at the same time, hundreds, if not thousands of personal statement. And for your personal statement to stand out, you have to assume a role of, whoever's going to be reading your application. They may be looking for certain qualities in in your personal statement, or they may be just trying to get to know you as a person, of whether they think you would actually fit into the particular program that you're applying to. So you want to make sure that you be a bit more creative sometimes, because they may not have a lot of time to spend on each of the personal statement to read it very much in detail. So you want to keep that in mind when you write your personal statement. If you think it's not interesting, if you think it's something that, if another person who don't know you and read it and they lose interest in the first 30 seconds, then probably that's not a good personal statement. And that's something that you may want to consider, changing or even rewriting. So that's number one. I think another point I want to mention is because actually you only allow students to submit one personal statement, and you may be applying to different programs. So you have to be very intentional in terms of, your focus, are you applying to all over the place? Then that perhaps will make your personal statement a bit weaker because you are not very focused in what you're writing. Or are you going to be very focused? You will only want to, for example, you only want to apply to STEM related subjects. Then perhaps you should mention more about, your relevant experiences and how that may make you stand out. So the point being that there will be different, pretty much every single student would have their extracurriculars, they would have different things. So how you make use of those experiences and how you put them in writing and to be in an attractive way, so that, for someone who don't know you, after reading it, they will get a better idea. They will actually remember the application. I think that's the key. That's where, how you can increase your chance. And that's something I absolutely would recommend students to do when they are considering how to complete their personal statement. So that's with personal statement. And then maybe I will see there's something about recommendations. Probably I'll also take those. There are two similar questions about recommendation. In terms of what can be counted as a good referee, there actually really isn't a requirements by us. So as long as someone who know you well, it can be someone who has retired, it can be someone that may not directly have taught you, although I think that would be a good thing because they probably would know you better. I think those kind of reference would make a difference, because we are also talking about people who are reading hundreds, if not thousands, admissions officer reading hundreds, if not thousands of references. So they can really tell if there's someone who write about you actually know you, because after reading that many, you pretty much will get an idea. And so find someone who know you well, who can really write something good for you and can describe you. I think that's more important than the role or who that actually that person would be. And I think the other one is about submitting multiple reference letters with our application. It's possible, but we don't recommend you to submit too many. I think 2 is usually a good number, because then we have perspective from 2 different people and about the same person. But having too many probably would also make your application lose a bit of focus. So and probably they won't have a lot of time to go through each of the recommendation letter in very much deep in high level of detail. So I would say probably 2 is a good number, and you should probably also consider asking 2 people, 2 teachers who know you well, to write those reference for you. So I think I pretty much also addressed the next one. So I will just check that off the list. Are there internship programs? Perhaps I will take that. I already mentioned the students can take internship. A lot of the programs at HAU does not have an internship attachment, meaning that you're not it's not compulsory for students to take internships, but chances are you're going to be able to find something. That could be related to your programs. It could be something different from your program, as long as you do take the risk to spend the time to go into to do a bit more research and stuff. That would obviously help you a lot in finding something that you like in Hong Kong or in Asia. That being said, however, a lot of the students also find internships. You may be surprised to hear that they may find internships through professors at the university as well. So another great way for you to really make the most out of your time at university, whether you come to HAU or you join at a university, is to really build up that connections. And my experience with international students is that they usually take ownership of what they want to do. So that's great. That's a really good thing that's going, that is in their favor. And continue to do so, because you never know, some of these networks, some of these connections may come into benefit you, not just in terms of helping you get good grades, but also helping you to land into a job, an internship, or research opportunities that may not be previously available to you. So definitely take those into consideration when you do your research. So let me see if there's anything else that I think this one, I will check it off as well. So, okay, there's a question of financial aid. I mentioned about scholarships. So at the moment, because HAU is a public university, so we actually do not offer financial aids in the sense that's similar to the US, US colleges type of financial aids that are assessed based on students' needs. We do not operate on that kind of basis. But I mentioned two things already. Number one is a comparatively lower cost for students to study in Hong Kong. And number two, also scholarship available for students if they do consider applying to us, and that would mostly be on merit basis. So that's that. Okay.
We can also send you the questions as well. So if you don't get through all of them, you can always respond to a particular student who sent those through.
Yeah, I think I have pretty much addressed. I think the in terms of the types of questions I've addressed a lot of that. So I just want to end by saying that I really do appreciate all the questions coming in. You're very much welcome to reach out to me or reach out to my team, to the website and connect with us. There are also staff dedicated to help students if they do encounter any difficulty in their application process, or even in their onboarding process. We are very much happy to support students along the way. And I think the goal is really whether you apply to us or not, or you want to consider applying to any universities, make sure you do your research, make sure you ask questions, continue to ask good questions, and also make sure you also don't miss any of the deadlines, be it you want to apply for a scholarship, apply for a particular program. So make sure keep those dates in mind and start your research accordingly. Now is a good time for you to do so. And we are, again, thank you very much for joining. I do very much look forward to receiving your applications.
Great, thank you so much, Ying. Thank you to everybody who joined today. Honestly, brilliant questions, very, very informative and chatty. If you do have any more questions, like I said, everything is on the screen right now for all the information for you to get in touch with the University of Hong Kong any further, but they will be reaching out to you once the webinar is finished. And all those who are watching it on demand on the recording, they can also get in touch at any point after the webinar. Any last words, Ying, before we finish?
No, I just want to thank you again for joining us today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone, wherever you are. Bye-bye.